Hello, welcome back. Today I am back out in the garden and I'm going to try and tackle some of this mess behind me. We'll see how much we can get done before my time for today runs out.
I wasn't exactly sure where to start with this jungle of end of garden mess that was left here. So I thought my first plan of attack would just be to cut down all the dry corn stalks, pile them up in a pile, take down all of the vines of whatever was growing that had died after the frost, and see what I could do to just bring it back to base level. I was starting to see over progress once I had cut down most of the corn stalks and vines. There was still a lot of plants in the ground, which I thought was okay for now, as I was planning to just cover it with leaves later in the season and wait until spring to really break down the bed. For now, I was starting to see some progress, but there was still this big pile of all of the yard waste. I decided the best course of action for now, since I didn't have compost set up yet, was to take all of the scraps from the garden, all of the twigs that were holding things up, all of the random branches that were in there, and just pile them up on top of the pile of scrap wood that was in the backyard and make that my compost system for now, my beginnings of compost. Now it was time to tackle this very large squash, or I'm guessing it's a squash, some type of vining plant that had very large leaves. It had grown out of the garden and onto this rain barrel system over the fence. It was even completely covering one of the bushes that was in the front of the house. I'm not sure why previous homeowner allowed this vine to get so out of control, or if it was on purpose, but I needed to tackle it because now that the plant was starting to die back, it was looking unsightly in the front of the house. At this point, I decided that trying to cut away the vine wasn't going to work, and I was just going to have to give it a good hard yank and see if I could free the bush that was underneath it. I couldn't believe how much mass or stored volume. There was a lot of plant material that came from this one vine, in addition to all of the branches that I found underneath it. Clearly, whoever planted this had trained it to go up the bush on purpose, but the fence was totally lost underneath it. So I was glad to finally be able to make a little bit of headway. You can see here how big of a pile all this came from one really big plant. I never did see the fruit of it. Perhaps they came back to harvest all of the fruit before I had moved into the house. Here is the result of all of that big old garden mess that we cleaned up today. I am so proud of all the work that we did. It is a huge pile that I'm hoping I can get to start to break down, and now I need to tackle some of the leaves on the ground. There is something so satisfying about watching back big garden projects like this, seeing work that takes, hours long projects that become just a few minutes on camera. It's so fun to watch and feel that feeling of, look at all the work that's getting done. Anyway, as I'm raking up the leaves, I am creating a big pile on top of all of the yard waste and garden waste in the back of the house. I know that this is probably not the most ideal composting system, but in the short amount of time that I had available to me while my little one was sleeping, I wanted to tackle as much as I possibly could, and I felt like for the time that I had and the resources that I had at that moment, I wanted to just get up the leaves, break down the old garden bed, and get started some sort of compost pile so that perhaps I could have some garden soil that I could use, or some compost that I could use in my beds come springtime.
Alright, we are losing the light, so I wanted to hop back on and wrap up for today. We got leaves picked up for most of the space in the yard. Doesn't look like much, but got a lot of leaves picked up, and in the game time decision I decided to put the leaves and the organic waste coming out of the previous owner's garden back in the heap in the back that had the twigs and branches. And I can't see it, but hopefully you can. Yeah, so I decided to pile everything up back there, and hopefully that will be the start of a future compost, hoping to have a more sophisticated system eventually. I will definitely admit that I'm not an expert on composting. I still have a lot more to learn. I'm going to do some more research this week to make sure that there's not anything that I'm missing. And other than that, this is first garden project in the new house. It's a wrap. Okay, here is the after shot of the garden. I took out all the corn stalks and those things, and it is looking, in my opinion, 100% better. Okay, here's some afters of the crazy brush pile. There was wood and like lumber and also like a lot of branches. I piled all the branches and the random stuff that was left in the garden here and put leaves on top, hoping that that is the appropriate ratio of greens and browns. If it is not, someone let me know. I raked most of the yard. You can see it looks a lot more green than it did. So I'm really happy about the progress today. Sun is now setting. With daylight savings time, we don't have quite as much sunlight hours as we did before. And let's look at a final look at the garden area. Okay, so I took down all of the dried corn stalks and as much of the vines as I could grab. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with this section for now, except wait for more of it to die and maybe pile leaves on top of it and then figure it out later on. It looks 10 times better than it did. It looked really jumbled up and crazy here before, and now it looks, still like it needs some love, but slightly less wild. So after doing a little bit of research, I realized that I needed to add some more green material to my leaf pile in order for it to break down. Having just leaves and big branches and twigs could take years to decompose just by themselves. But if I had some green material like plant matter, coffee grounds, other things, then it would decompose more quickly. Thank you so much for watching today. I really appreciate your time, sharing time with me in the garden. If you have started a backyard compost before and you have any tips on how to make it successful and make sure that you're actually producing nutritious soil and not just creating a home for mice, drop those comments, drop the advice in the comments below. I would be happy to hear that. I will also add some of my previous gardening videos that you can watch until my next upload. Again, thank you so much for watching. My name is Raina, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!